Jeep has finally dipped its toes into the EV pond. For 2025, the Jeep Wagoneer S promises old-school American brute force with zero tailpipe emissions. It looks like a traditional SUV, but underneath, well, that's where things get interesting. So today I'm going to test it and see how it goes. So first impressions are that it's quite handsome. It's not overdone, it's quite muscular looking. The coupe SUV silhouette is there, the roof does slow, but not so much as if you feel like you're driving a teardrop. At the front it gets the traditional Jeep 7-slot grille, but this one is a little bit more 21st century. LEDs on either side, and then down here, tiny little spotlights. At the back you get these little S Wagoneer badges on both sides. And then because it's all-wheel drive, it's got 4xe badging as well, a light strip across the back, and no tailpipes. Standard wheels on this launch edition are these 20-inch wheels wearing these 235/50 all-season Falcon tires, and I think they're a little bit small for the amount of power that this car has. So the Wagoneer S gets two permanent magnet electric motors. There's one on each axle. They're good for 335 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque each. Add that up, 600 horsepower, 617 foot-pounds of torque. Now the non-launch edition version, which is a limited trim, gets around 500 horsepower. This one, however, will reach 0 to 60 in approximately 3.4 seconds, which is actually really quick for a car this size and this big. Gets a decent battery too. It's a 94 kilowatt unit, good for 303 miles of range, as long as you're not in sport mode with a heavy right foot. Charging speeds are a max of 203 kilowatts, so you can go from 10 to 80 in around 23 minutes. And then for home use, you've got an 11 kilowatt onboard charger. So you might think that because it's a Jeep, it has a lot of ground clearance. Well, that's not true for this model. It only has 6.4 inches of ground clearance, but there is a Jeep Wagoneer S Trailhawk coming soon that should have more clearance. This one comes with a powered liftgate. Revealing a pretty decent 31 cubic feet of space here. And if you put the seats down, get around 61 cubic feet of space. And as a bonus, they actually fall flat. Under this mat is actually a surprising amount of room for other stuff. How much is it? Well, the base price for this launch edition is $70,200. This paint is $595. That's the only option on this car. So out the door, expect $72,590. So in the back, it's actually quite nice. These seats are nice and soft. Got a couple of cup holders in the middle there. 38 inches of legroom, which is pretty generous. Really nice sort of soft feeling plastics. A little bit of space right here. You've got vents, you've got heated and cooled outboard seats, 115 volt AC, and a couple of USBs. The only thing that's kind of annoying is the way that this button here to open the door is too far forward. Where your hand would normally grab hold of that would be here, but they've set the button forward, so you have to kind of reach forward to get it open. Bit of a miss. Equally nice in the front. You got a chopped off at both top and bottom steering wheel, but it feels good in your hands. Leather, this leather on the seats is really soft. Multi-way power. This one has massage feature too. You got an excellent stereo from Macintosh, which sounds really, really good. And for the most part, most of the plastics are fairly soft feeling. This is a little bit brittle plastic, but it's not too bad. Inside, the digital experience is modern, it's clean. You get dual 12.3-inch displays, so that one for the driver right there, and then another one here for the infotainment. And then immediately below that, you get a 10.3-inch display for the climate controls. And then one cool thing is this lifts up, revealing a ton of space and some USBs. It's a shame that the person who designed this didn't design the door handles. So there are some climate related controls on the main screen. You've got heated seats, cooled seats, heated steering wheel, physical volume. Over here you've got a tune button and the controls for the other side. So out of the driver you get a digital dash. You've got your speed limit in where I'm driving right now, which doesn't actually have one, 0 miles an hour, average energy consumption, 216 miles of range. But if you change the mode that you're in, so if I go to sport mode from down here, watch the range drop from 216 to 195. If you go to auto, it'll go back up to 216. If you go to eco, it should go up to higher, 227. So if I drop it back to auto and then drop it back to sport, you'll notice that the traction control gets turned off in sport. Now, this one does come with a sunroof. Here's the screen for the climate controls. You've got driver massage, passenger massage, and turn the screen off. There's your on button and off button, rotary shifter, and sand, snow, eco, auto, and sport driving modes. And then finally, you get quite a decent amount of storage in the middle here under the armrest and a wireless charger. Oh, and also auto hold, which is a button I like to press too, so you don't have to keep your foot on the brake. But then it has hill descent control. I wouldn't want to take this anywhere too crazy, but it did click in when I was using sand mode earlier. Right, we have to drive it. Now I'm already off-road, so we'll do a bit of off-roading on the way out. We'll test out sand mode, and then we'll get it on some pavement and see what happens when you activate 600 horsepower with the traction control off in sport mode. Right, into sand mode. Let's go. Right, so off we go. So the first problem that you notice is that the throttle pedal is very, very light. It's like hair trigger. And so you sometimes give it too much and it makes the car a little bit jerky, especially when you're in the highest regen mode, which is why I don't have it in that setting. Because I drove here and it was sort of quite uncomfortable. I'm sure if you had a passenger, you're going to be moving around like this all the time. So just a little bit of advice. On this rough stuff, actually, the suspension is actually quite soft and quite compliant. And it actually does pretty well, but that becomes a problem when you get it onto pavement, as you will see. But going through here, give it a little bit of gas, and it kind of goes. It feels quite zippy, but at the same time quite smooth on this rougher pavement. We'll try it on some washboard in a second. Steering also feels quite light in this mode, but it does get a little heavier in sport mode. It's a little noisy on this section. Right, onto the paved section, and let's give it sport mode. Again, turns off the traction control. Quite a loud turn signal. So once you're on paved roads, that's when this really hair trigger accelerator is just it's kind of annoying. And I hate it when there's a really strong spring on them and they're too hard. I won't do a full launch, but let's go and see what it does. Okay. So that's what happens when you don't have traction control on. It literally spins up its front wheels. It's not passing the power to the rear, it's just spinning the front wheels, and I didn't even have my foot flat down. That is not good. It has all-wheel drive for a reason. Unusually as well is that they've separated the power equally between the front and the rear motors. Typically you have a less powerful front motor than you would a rear motor. So I would suggest is if you turn on sport mode and the traction control light goes off, turn it back on. And then it's actually quite good. Obviously in sport mode you have to have the traction control off to do a proper launch, but I can just do a regular launch by sticking my foot down and hanging onto the wheel. So if I do that now, I've fixed my problem. Let's see if it spins the wheels this time. Let's hope it doesn't, so we're not embarrassed. Right. So the traction control there, and it's quick. This thing is quick. The traction control was kicking in, fighting the power at the front. Yeah, the hood kind of lifts up. Suspension is slightly firmer in sport mode, and it feels a little bit more planted. When you're in auto and you're trying to take a corner real quick, it doesn't like it. It's pretty quick when you put your foot down, but it's slightly unnerving to drive in the turns. It just doesn't have the chassis control that you need. So I'm being somewhat cautious because it definitely rolls quite a lot, and it's a bit of a handful in these turns. But it's when you get to these turns, oops, gain speed quite quickly, quite comically. It's definitely fast. Fast and slightly uncontrollable is my conclusion. So what do we think? Well, on paper, it's really good. 600 horsepower, ludicrous acceleration times, really nice, for the most part, well-made interior, but its handling is kind of suspect. It feels like a giraffe on roller skates. It just doesn't quite have the handling that you would expect from a car with this kind of power. It feels like it came out of the oven a little bit too early. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time with another video. Out.